How cruise workers eat, sleep, and live on a cruise 2025. Right now, while passengers are enjoying lobster dinners and cocktails by the pool, thousands of cruise workers are finishing 14 hours of their shifts. Cabin stewards have cleaned 63 rooms today. They'll clean 63 more tomorrow, for 7 months straight, without a single day off. These workers share windowless cabins below the waterline with 3 other people they'd never met before boarding. They eat in separate dining rooms, serving food, nothing like what passengers eat upstairs. They make few dollars per hour, plus tips if they're lucky. And they're among the fortunate ones who have contracts and get paid. Some crew members work 12-month contracts with 0 vacation days, living in conditions that would violate labor laws in most developed countries. This is the reality of cruise ship employment in 2025. An industry generating $50 billion annually while operating under maritime law loopholes that allow practices banned on land. By the end of this video, you'll understand how cruise workers actually live behind the scenes, why thousands accept these conditions voluntarily, and what's changing in 2025 as workers demand better treatment. Quick question: could you work 7 months straight without a single day off? Drop yes or no in the comments. Let's start with the most shocking reality. Cruise ship workers don't get days off. Not weekends, not holidays, not even 1 day per month. A typical contract is 6 to 10 months of continuous work, 7 days per week, 10 to 14 hours per day. A cabin steward working a 7-month contract works 210 days straight. At 12 hours per day, that's 2,520 hours with 0 breaks. For context, most workers with 2 weeks vacation work around 2,000 hours per year with 52 days off. Cruise workers do more hours in 7 months than most people work in a full year, with literally 0 days off. The only rest comes when the contract ends and workers fly home, usually for 2 months, before starting another contract. Why do people accept this? The answer is economic opportunity. Most cruise workers come from developing countries where few dollars per hour represents significant income. A Filipino cabin steward making few dollars per hour plus tips can earn $15,000 to $20,000 during a 7-month contract. In the Philippines, where average annual income is around $4,000, this represents 5 years of typical wages earned in 7 months. For workers from Indonesia, India, Eastern Europe, and Latin America, cruise ship employment offers income impossible to achieve at home, but the cost is extraordinary sacrifice. Let's talk about where crew members actually live. Crew cabins are located on the lowest decks, below the waterline. These are the cheapest real estate. No windows, no natural light, maximum noise from engines. Standard crew cabin is 80 to 100 square feet. That's smaller than most prison cells. This tiny space houses 2 to 4 people in bunk beds. There's a small bathroom, minimal storage, and no personal space. You share this room with strangers, sometimes from different departments with opposite schedules. Your roommate might work nights while you work days, meaning someone is always sleeping while the other is awake. Privacy doesn't exist. The air quality in crew areas is noticeably worse than passenger areas. Ventilation systems prioritize upper decks. Lower decks are hot, humid, and smell like diesel fuel and industrial cleaning products. Many crew members report respiratory problems and difficulty sleeping, but complaining risks your contract. Cruise lines have absolute authority over employment. If you're labeled a troublemaker, you're sent home immediately and blacklisted. So workers endure conditions they can't change. Have you ever shared a room with strangers? Tell me how that experience was in the comments. Now let's discuss food. Crew members don't eat what passengers eat. There are separate crew dining areas on lower decks. The food is dramatically different. While passengers enjoy fresh seafood and steaks, crew members eat basic institutional food designed for maximum economy. Breakfast might be rice, eggs, and canned vegetables. Lunch might be chicken, rice, and beans. The food provides calories, but it's repetitive, heavily starched, and nutritionally questionable for people working 12-hour shifts. Fresh fruits and vegetables are limited. Meat quality is lower. Department heads and officers eat in separate dining rooms with better food. This creates visible hierarchy. Regular crew see officers eating better food while they eat cafeteria food. This inequality is accepted as normal but reinforces the class divide. Water access is another issue. Crew members have limited access to drinking water. Water fountains exist in crew areas, but they're not always functional. Many crew members buy bottled water from crew stores because they don't trust the water quality. Meanwhile, passengers have unlimited access to clean water. Sleep is perhaps the most challenging aspect. You're working 12-hour shifts, 7 days per week, in a windowless cabin with multiple roommates. Your roommate might snore or work opposite shifts. The cabin is hot. The engines are loud. Ship rocks constantly. Many crew members report chronic sleep deprivation, leading to mental health problems and depression. But there's no alternative. You can't request a room change easily. You can't take a day off to recover. The social hierarchy on cruise ships is rigid. At the top are officers, mostly from Europe and North America, who manage operations and technical systems. These positions pay $40,000 to $80,000 annually with better cabins, often with windows. Next are department heads, who manage specific areas. They earn $25,000 to $40,000. Then come regular crew, housekeepers, dishwashers, laundry workers, who do physical labor. These are overwhelmingly from developing countries and earn $15,000 to $25,000 annually in the lowest quality housing. This hierarchy is racial and national in practice. Officers tend to be white and Western. Low-level crew tend to be Asian, Eastern European, or Latin American. One significant change in 2025 is increased awareness through social media. Crew members have started posting TikTok and Instagram content showing their living conditions, work hours, and treatment. Some videos have gone viral, creating public pressure. In response, several major cruise lines have announced improvements: slightly higher base wages, better crew food, and improved cabins on newer ships. But these changes are incremental. The fundamental structure, 7-day work weeks, shared windowless cabins, separate treatment, remains unchanged. Medical care for crew members is complicated. Ships have medical facilities, but they're primarily for passengers. Crew members receive basic care, but anything serious results in being sent home, potentially losing your job. If you get sick and can't work, you're a liability. Mental health care is virtually non-existent. Depression and anxiety are widespread, but there's no counseling. You're expected to maintain a cheerful demeanor regardless of how you feel. Passengers must never see unhappy crew. The financial reality is complex. Yes, cabin stewards make $3 per hour base wage, but tips can double or triple income. A steward providing excellent service might earn $15 to $20 per day in tips. Over 7 months, that's $10,000 in tips on top of base wages. But tips are unpredictable. They depend on passenger generosity. Some cruise lines automatically add gratuities, ensuring crew receive something. Others leave tipping optional. For positions without passenger contact, laundry workers, dishwashers, engine staff, there are no tips. They survive entirely on base wages. Which aspect would be hardest for you? No days off, windowless cabin, or being away from family for months? Comment below. Let's talk about free time. Most ships have crew bars and lounges in lower deck areas. These spaces offer cheap alcohol, basic entertainment, and social connection. For many crew, the crew bar is the only escape from work monotony. It's where friendships form and frustrations are vented. But it's also where problems develop. Alcohol abuse is common among crew dealing with stress and exhaustion. The cruise lines provide cheap alcohol as a pressure valve, but they don't provide support for workers who develop dependency. Sexual harassment and assault are serious problems. When thousands of young people from different countries live in close quarters with limited oversight, problems occur. Cruise lines have implemented training and reporting mechanisms, but enforcement is inconsistent. Many incidents go unreported because victims fear retaliation. Women describe constant, unwanted attention and inappropriate comments. The international nature of cruise employment makes legal recourse nearly impossible. Family separation is the hardest part for many crew members. Imagine not seeing your children for 7 months, missing birthdays, holidays, school events, and daily life. You communicate through occasional phone calls or internet when the ship is close to shore. But ship internet is expensive and unreliable for crew. Many crew members send money home but don't see how their families spend it or what's happening in their children's lives. The psychological cost of this separation is rarely discussed, but profoundly affects workers. Some crew members report feeling like strangers to their own families after multiple contracts. Their children grow up with an absent parent who exists mainly as a source of money rather than as a present figure in their lives. So why do people keep doing this? Why do workers return for multiple contracts despite the brutal conditions? The answer is simple: economic necessity and lack of alternatives. For someone from a developing country with limited education, cruise ship work offers higher income than anything available at home. Yes, the conditions are difficult. Yes, you sacrifice time with family. Yes, the living situation is harsh. But the alternative might be unemployment or working for $1 per day in your home country. When your family's survival depends on the money you send home, you tolerate conditions you wouldn't otherwise accept. Cruise lines depend on this economic desperation. They recruit from countries where workers have few options, ensuring a steady supply of people willing to accept low wages and harsh conditions. In 2025, there are some signs of change. Labor organizations are beginning to organize cruise ship workers, though this is difficult given the international nature of employment. Some countries that supply cruise workers, particularly the Philippines, which provides a huge percentage of cruise employees, are negotiating for better conditions and minimum wages. The International Transport Workers Federation has launched campaigns demanding better treatment of maritime workers, and social media has made it harder for cruise lines to hide conditions from the public. Videos showing tiny crew cabins, basic food, and exhausted workers have created public awareness that didn't exist 10 years ago. But fundamental change is slow. Cruise lines operate under flags of convenience, registering ships in countries with minimal labor regulations like Panama, Liberia, or the Bahamas. This allows them to avoid the labor laws of the countries where they actually operate. A ship with American passengers, departing from American ports, operated by an American company, can legally pay workers $3 per hour because the ship is technically Panamanian. This legal fiction allows massive profitable companies to exploit workers while avoiding accountability. Until international maritime law changes or countries refuse to allow these ships to dock without meeting basic labor standards, conditions will improve only incrementally. So here's the reality of how cruise workers eat, sleep, and live in 2025. They work 7-day weeks for 6 to 10 months with 0 days off. They live in windowless cabins below the waterline, sharing 80 square feet with strangers. They eat basic institutional food in separate dining areas that passengers never see. They make $3 per hour base wage, less than half the US federal minimum, supplemented by tips when they're lucky. They endure this because it offers income impossible to achieve in their home countries. They sacrifice time with families, endure harsh conditions, and smile constantly for passengers who rarely think about their existence. The cruise industry generates billions in profits while operating under maritime law loopholes that allow labor practices illegal on land. And while awareness is growing and minor improvements are happening, the fundamental exploitation continues because workers from poor countries have no better alternatives. The thousands of people who serve meals, clean cabins, maintain engines, and wash dishes on cruise ships aren't there because the jobs are good. They're there because the jobs are better than nothing, which tells you everything about global economic inequality and how wealthy countries consume luxury built on the invisible labor of desperate workers willing to sacrifice everything for their family's survival.